this year's Bett show. Earlier today I caught up with Groupcall's co-founder Sir Bob Geldof, and he told me about the importance of parental engagement. Bob, thanks very much for chatting to me.
You're welcome.
I've got quite a few questions, but I'll see how many I can get through.
Okay.
So Groupcall has had sort of a big hand in kind of connecting parents with their students through their schools. So I want to talk to you a little bit about parental engagement. So technology, I mean, Groupcall is a very good example of that, but how can tech, further engage students and their parents together?
Well, hopefully better than like I'm engaging with the schools that my kids go to at the moment. I mean, you get swamped with these, letters and flyers and this, that and the other, which really annoys parents. I mean, it just gets in the way of the day. And the first thing is to filter down things specific to your child rather than the general school stuff. But much more importantly, I think this stuff needs to be personalised so that you feel a connection between the school and what it's trying to do and the achievements or otherwise of your kid. And to be able to have a constant engagement and dialogue with the school, obviously you can't keep interrupting. You'll have those, overactive parents, constantly, but just general on an updated basis. And, we have that technology now, obviously, but it'll develop more and more. And I don't see any way out of this. I mean, there's a lot of parents who just, don't want to know. And that isn't disengagement, it's just their world is work and the kids' world is work and school, and get on with it and do your homework, and I want to see good results. And that is what most parents want to see. You can't live a million lives. You can't be all the time obligated to other agenda. But I guess first in that agenda almost naturally will be your kids. So this entire thing of engagement is simply because the empirical evidence is that when parents actively engage with the kids' work, and I don't mean, constantly doing school activities and stuff like that, actually engage with the classwork, etc., at home and in school, that, education levels rise exponentially. So that's certainly the way schools and government will want things to go, the way they want it to go. I just think we need to have the technologies now available on every device that will make that a possibility.
Do you think, you say about people having busy lives and there's lots of things they have to think about now, there's always been a bit of a challenge and the dangers of children knowing more about the technology than their parents?
Well, I think there'll always be a technological gap, because it moves forward at such a pace. I'm a technophobe, but in every sense I always was. I make records, and I've made records for 40 years. If you asked me to operate the desk, I couldn't do it. I know what it does, and I know the technical terms. Like if I need it to be a little more trebly, the word we'd use is I need more top, but the technical thing I'd say to the engineer, I'd say give us 10 dB on the thing. I know what that means, I know what it does, but if you ask me to actually do it, and I've sat in these places for years, it couldn't be arsed, so it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I know that, all these whiz-bang phones, and that's all I want. I don't want people getting to me. I just want to text. I want to be able to make a phone call. I don't want to take pictures with this. I'm not interested in doing that. So, but that isn't how a 17-year-old thinks. They think that device, part of what it does is to make a call, part of what it does is to think, part of what it does is to do films. Why wouldn't it? And that'll be subsumed when they're 30 by some other thing. Will we always be going, wow, that's amazing? It doesn't amaze me in the least. I just think, I've just had, Groupcall, the company that I'm involved in, we've just won this huge contract with BT. And I've just been, up there talking about, their whiz-bang stuff, and I just said, it's great, but, stuff like that. So, will generations not be able to understand what the others do because of technology? I don't actually think so. It's simply the transfer of information. You might not know how the machine works or how it does it, but you will understand what it's doing, and that's the key.
So with the new computing curriculum being introduced later this year, if I go it made me think about children that don't have access to a lot of the technology at home.
Key issue.
Yeah.
And you can see that throughout the world. It's people talk about the inequality issue and they're talking about income and stuff like that, but there's a far more dangerous inequality for the future, and that's technological thing. You see, unless nations can have the knowledge and the technical capacity to keep innovation, they lose their edge. That's the 21st century. And so those two things go together, the knowledge and the technical capacity to keep innovating. So if you don't have that, it is seriously going to be a major problem. Change can be good or bad, but it's only good when it meets the needs of and is balanced by the requirements of society. And these new things do that. As to understanding them and seeing how they work, we'll understand that within seconds. And even then, once we put unlikely combinations of these things together, we'll find newer ways to use them, etc., etc.
Well, that's it from Bett 2014. We'll see you next year.